Well, ISIS-affiliated groups are promising that the violence we saw in Nice, France is likely to continue across the globe. And Newt Gingrich is taking some heat tonight for suggesting that American Muslims who subscribe to Sharia law should actually be deported. Here's what Gingrich told Sean Hannity last night.
Western civilization is in a war. We should, frankly, test every person from here who is of a Muslim background, and if they believe in Sharia, they should be deported. Sharia is incompatible with Western civilization.
Azam Akram is Imam of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Chicago. Brigitte Gabriel is a New York Times bestselling author and president of ACT for America. And Sheikh Ahmed Salman is Imam of the Dar es Salaam Mosque in San Francisco. Thank you all so much for being here. Ahmed, let me start with you on this and your thoughts on Newt's proposal to potentially deport American Muslims who follow Sharia law.
First of all, thank you, Megan, for having us on.
That's for Ahmed, sorry.
To begin with, Kelly, I think Newt Gingrich does not know anything about Sharia. Before he understands Sharia, if we talk about Sharia, it stands totally on the basis of justice. What we see in the United States as the Constitution, it is on the basis of justice, and the Holy Quran teaches that we have to obey by the law of the land. So this is what Sharia is. Now, in order for Gingrich to know more about this, you can come to my mosque in Dar es Salaam Mosque, House of Peace, where we can talk more about Sharia on that matter.
But Brigitte, what about, I mean, I don't know if it's Sharia, but Islamism is, you know, considered problematic by many Americans, because if you are an Islamist, you approach Islam very different from modern, more reformed Muslims.
Exactly, you are correct. Islamists are very different than the imams that we are having here right now, who belong actually to the Ahmadiyya movement. The Ahmadiyya movement started in the 19th century, and they actually believe in angels. Those types of imams and mosques are not the ones we are talking about. They have reformed their religion. What we are talking about is the authentic Sharia practice that the majority of Muslims around the world practice. The 1.6 billion Muslims who follow Sharia. And it's not compatible with our Constitution, and this is what ISIS follows, and that's what's causing mayhem around the world right now. That's what we're worried about.
How is it not compatible, Brigitte?
It's not compatible with our Constitution. They believe apostates should be killed. They believe a woman's value is half of that of a man. They believe if a woman is raped, she needs 4 witnesses in order for her to be saved, to testify against the rape. They believe in supremacy. They believe Islam is supreme to all other religions. They do not believe in man-made laws, such as the Constitution. That's just the tip of the iceberg, and that's why Sharia law is not compatible with the United States Constitution.
Azam, this is not, I mean, Andy McCarthy, a well-respected attorney and former federal prosecutor who prosecuted terrorists, he's made this point several times that we need to be distinguishing between Islamism and Islam for the very reasons that Brigitte just outlined. Is she wrong? Is he wrong?
Well, the crux of the matter is that it's failed Muslim leadership. And as part of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, we have the consistent leadership of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who's the founder of the community over 120 years ago, and now his successor, who's the Khalifa of Islam, Mirza Masroor Ahmad, has over 4,000 imams under him promoting the same message. So when you look at the world today, the Muslim world is calling for that leadership, that guidance, and just like a head with a body without the head, you have no sense of direction. And this is why all over the countries and all over the world, in over 206 different nations, we have been promoting the peaceful message of Islam, the justice.
Right, that's your group. Brigitte already conceded that. That's a different question about those who believe the things that Brigitte just outlined. I need to stand you by. We've got breaking news in Turkey. I'm coming back to you in a minute. We've got late breaking detail on this attempted coup, and we're going to go back to Trace Gallagher to get us up to speed. Trace?
And I want to show you, Megan, we just a few minutes ago showed you that Turkish President Erdogan was actually holding a news conference there, and we couldn't understand what he was saying because there was no translation. Now we're getting a better idea of what he was telling his followers. Just for some background, you should know that President Erdogan was actually out of town vacationing at the Black Sea when this attempted coup happened. And then about 35 minutes ago, he flew into Ataturk Airport. That's the main airport in Istanbul, the same one that was attacked just a couple of weeks ago, and he was greeted by, we're told, hundreds of his supporters. And then he was escorted to a television station where you saw that news conference, and now we hear that he is saying things like those responsible will pay the appropriate price. He went on to say this was carried out by a minority number of people who cannot stomach the unity of the country. The president went on to say millions are now in the streets of Turkey protesting the uprising, and that the cabinet is functioning as usual, and they are in the process now, Megan, he says, of arresting police who were involved with this attempted coup. What's fascinating about this is that earlier, those who attempted the coup took over the main television station in Istanbul, and they sent out a message saying that they had control of the country. Well, now that has flipped. That is now back in control of the government. So clearly, they no longer have control of the television station, and it has been several hours, maybe 3 hours, since we have heard from the opposition, those who attempted the coup, and that is a sign, some say, that this may have been a failed coup. Very early, still get conflicting messages coming in, Megan. We'll keep you up to speed on what's coming across the wire.
All right, Trace, thank you. I want to bring back Brigitte Gabriel because she actually has some expertise on Turkey. And Brigitte, all right, so this, you tell me, is this good or not? Because our government, our president, Hillary Clinton's put out a statement saying they're against the coup. They stand behind the democratically elected leader. And yet what the other experts are saying is if Erdogan survives an attempted coup, he's only going to get more extreme in his Islamism, and that's not good for Turkey, and that's not good for the United States. Your thoughts?
That's not good for Turkey, the United States, or the Middle East. If Erdogan wins and comes back to power, it is very, very bad. Actually, it's a win for ISIS, and it's a loss for the civilized world. We need the coup to succeed because that will be our way to actually be able to defeat ISIS and basically bring some stability to the Middle East. Erdogan is the one who said Islam is Islam. There's no moderate Islam. There's no radical Islam. Islam is one, and that is Islam. He is very radical. He actually has been bringing Turkey to a cliff. This is why you see the divided Turkey. Turkey is basically, under Erdogan, is heading towards an Islamic theocracy. He's running it like a dictatorship. It will be another mini Iran. If he comes to power, we hope and pray that the coup will succeed.
In Turkey, if you investigate or question his anti-terror policies, you can get investigated by his government. You can come under scrutiny. You could potentially be thrown in jail for questioning him, for insulting him. And, you know, this is somebody who our government right now is saying, leave him alone.
Exactly. This is the same government that actually have dragged the world for the last 8 years into destruction. Under President Obama and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and under this current administration, Libya is in shambles, Yemen is in shambles, Syria is in shambles, Iraq is in shambles. They do not know what they're doing. They are bringing the world into the brink of war, and the fact that they came out in support of Erdogan is just mind-boggling. The American public need to wake up and realize that what our administration is doing right now is leading the world into war. We cannot support Erdogan, and we can just hope that the coup will succeed and Erdogan will be out of power.
On the flip side, we've seen many, near dictators or actual dictators deposed in the Middle East over the past 7 to 8 years, and it has not always worked out. Despite great hopes on our part, it has not always worked out. Brigitte, thank you.